Welcome back to the Form 1023 Academy. I'm Susan Woods, your instructor. We are on Module 1, Lesson 1, entitled About the Form 1023. Again, this is Module 1, Lesson 1, entitled About the Form 1023. So we're going to talk about the Form 1023, and we're also going to examine the differences between the full version of the Form 1023 and the Form 1023 EZ. So let's get started. Here's the copyright notice again for your review, and I appreciate you honoring it. The Form 1023 definition. The Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption, long name, is the official application used to apply for 501c3 nonprofit status from the IRS. This is the official application that you must complete in order to apply for 501c3 nonprofit status from the Internal Revenue Service. Specifically, people use the Form 1023 application to apply for 501c3 tax exempt status, to operate a nonprofit organization to solve community problems, and if approved, the nonprofit does not pay federal income tax on most revenue generated, can receive tax deductible donations from the public. So once again, when you use the Form 1023 application to apply for 501c3 tax exempt status to solve community problems, you will have these two primary benefits when you are approved. You won't have to pay federal income tax on most revenue generated through your nonprofit, and you can receive tax deductible donations from the public. I'm going to elaborate on those two benefits later on. The Form 1023, what's included? What's included in the Form 1023 application? The full Form 1023 application is a detailed document. The full Form 1023 application, and that's the only one that I personally use. And we'll talk about that in a few moments. The full Form 1023 application includes 10 parts, and it includes as needed schedules that you must complete accurately. So you must complete the 10 parts and any as needed schedules that you use accurately. The 10 parts of the Form 1023 application are listed below, and you have to complete all of these 10 parts. Number one, Part 1, identification of applicant. Part 2, organizational structure. Part 3, required provisions. Part 4, your activities. Part 5, compensation. Part 6, financial data. Part 7, foundation classification. Part 8, effective date. Part 9, annual filing requirements. And Part 10 is the signature. Again, these are the 10 parts that are included in the latest full version of the Form 1023 application. The latest full version of the Form 1023 application was revised in January of 2020. And I'll show you when we look at the actual Form 1023 how you can determine whether or not you are using the most current version of the Form 1023. So these are the 10 parts. Now the 10 parts, all of the 10 parts includes questions. So each of the 10 parts includes questions that you will have to answer. And I can tell you that part number 4, which is your activities, there are about 5 pages of questions that you have to answer pertaining to your activities. Okay? Continuing with what's included, the as needed schedules are listed below. And I phrase it as needed because you may not need to complete any of the schedules. The schedules are used for specific types of nonprofit organizations that I'm going to show you in a moment. There are 8 different types of schedules. But once again, you may not need to use any of them depending upon the purpose of your nonprofit organization. So let's take a look at the schedules. And the schedules are listed alphabetically. So Schedule A, churches. So if you're planning to create a church, you will have to complete all 10 parts of the full application, and then you will have to complete the schedule for churches, which is to provide additional information. Schedule B, schools, colleges, and universities. If you're planning to open a school, a college, or a university, then you have to complete Schedule B in addition to the 10 required parts of the full Form 1023. Schedule C, hospitals and medical research. If you're planning to offer a hospital or do medical research, then you have to complete Schedule C. I completed the Schedule C for one of my clients who was planning to open a hospital in Hamlet, North Carolina for senior citizens, only to serve seniors. Okay? That was a complex Form 1023, but he received approval from the IRS. Letter D, Schedule D, a 509A3 supporting organization. I'm not going to dig deep into the definition of that, but if you have a supporting organization that fits the criteria of a 509A3, then you would use Schedule D. Schedule E, the effective date schedule. If you want to have a specific effective date of operation for your nonprofit, then you have to complete Schedule E. Schedule F, this is a very popular one. If you're planning to offer low income housing, I've completed several Form 1023 applications that required the Schedule F because my clients wanted to offer low income housing options. Schedule G, successors to other organizations. If you are taking over a Form 10, I'm sorry, if you're taking over a nonprofit organization, you are the successor, then you need to complete Schedule G. And Schedule H, organizations providing scholarships. This is another popular one. I have clients, several clients, who have created nonprofit organizations and they want to offer scholarships to help children attend college or trade schools. So these are the schedules. Again, they are listed at the end of the Form 1023 in alphabetical order. And when you complete the 10 parts of the application, you will answer questions pertaining to these topics. And if you choose, if you click on something like, will you be offering scholarships? And you click yes, before you can finish your application, the system will automatically take you to Schedule H in order to complete Schedule H. And you may be wondering, how do I know how to answer these questions? I'm glad you asked because the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption has instructions that you can also download and use while you are answering the questions. The instructions provide guidance for each and every single question in the application, so you don't have to worry about wondering if you're answering the questions correctly. So those are the as needed schedules. Again, if you don't plan to offer any of these services, then you don't have to complete a schedule. Now let's talk about the Form 1023 versus the Form 1023 EZ. The Form 1023 full version I've already defined. Okay, it has over 28 pages, 10 parts, and as needed schedules, 8 as needed schedules. Okay, I already explained that. I already told you that each part includes several questions underneath each part. It's long and it's comprehensive. And once again, you can download the instructions to complete it. But what is the Form 1023-EZ? The Form 1023-EZ is a streamlined version of the Form 1023. It's 4 pages. It's very short. It only asks you to attest, ATTEST, attest that you have actually done all of the work that you would have done for the full version, but you want to do the streamlined version. And I'm going to show you a table right now that compares the two options. So you have the Form 1023-EZ. It's a streamlined 3-page version, I'm sorry. And in your PDF that you're going to download, these links are live, so you can click on the link to see what it looks like. The processing fee for the EZ is only $275, but you must meet eligibility requirements. There are eligibility requirements for the 1023-EZ. You can't just say, I'm going to do the 1023-EZ because it's $275. No, there are 30 questions in an eligibility requirements list that you have to select the correct answer for to make sure you're eligible to use it. Now, unfortunately, some people don't even do that. Some people just look at 3 pages and 275 and that's it. But those eligibility requirements are critical to making a decision as to whether or not you even qualify whether your nonprofit vision qualifies to use the 1023-EZ. So click on the link for eligibility requirements so that you can see what I'm referencing. And then you must answer no to all of the eligibility questions. Now, one of the questions is, do you believe your nonprofit would generate $50,000 in the first 3 years of operating your nonprofit? That's one of the questions. You must answer no to that question because all of the questions require no in order for you to qualify to use the 1023-EZ. And I ask people, I say, why would you say you don't think you're going to make $50,000 in your nonprofit in the first 3 years? And like, well, we're grassroots, we're just getting started, and we're not going to probably generate $50,000 in 3 years. In the first 3 years, year 1, year 2, year 3, you say you will not generate $50,000. I don't believe that. But if you believe that yourself, you're also saying, listen to me, you're also saying that what you're offering is not going to cost $50,000. So whatever services you're planning to offer will not cost $50,000 because you cannot have $50,000 in expenses if you're not going to have $50,000 in revenues. So that's the primary reason I don't use the Form 1023-EZ personally for my clients, because I don't want you boxed in to the limitation of $50,000 in your first year, in your second year, and your third year. I don't want you to do that. What if you have an investor that says, I love that you are offering community vegetable gardens to replace these food deserts. I want to invest $50,000 to help you get the land, to help you get the raised beds, the soil, the seeds, the plants, the fertilizers, the tools, the master gardeners, the people that you need. I want to just give you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then you have other donations coming in, and you have somebody wanting to give you $50,000. You're going to say, no, I'm not going to take it. Don't box yourself in. Must meet at least one purpose. You remember I talked about the purposes of a nonprofit organization. There's several purposes that you have to fall within. You have to fall within one of 8 purposes. Okay, we talked about that already. So you have to meet at least one of those purposes. And the top 3 purposes are, is your nonprofit going to have religious aspects, educational aspects, or charitable aspects? Okay, so it must be at least one of 8. And those are the top 3 most popular ones. The Form 1023-EZ does not require supplemental responses. Supplemental responses are additional documents attached to the application. However, you have to attest or promise the IRS that you have done or have created those documents, even though you're not attaching them. And finally, you must use pay.gov to upload and process the $275 fee. So that's the Form 1023 EZ. Now let's look at the one that I use, the one that I've been using since 2010, the application that I've used over 400 times, the full version of the Form 1023. The standard long 40-page version, the processing fee is $600. There are no eligibility requirements. You don't have to take an eligibility requirements quiz. You don't have to answer no to the questions because there's not any questions to answer. You can anyone can use the full version of the Form 1023. You must meet at least one purpose: charitable, educational, or religious. Those are the three top purposes, but there are 5 others that I'm going to show you later on. The Form 1023 full version does require supplemental responses. And those supplemental responses are just documents, and I'm going to tell you what they are later: bylaws, the financial data report, the fundraising activities, all of those, conflict of interest policy. I'm going to tell you all about it later on, but just let you know that the Form 1023 full version does require the supplemental responses. And then you must use pay.gov to upload and process the fee, which is $600. And I would demonstrate as we move on down the line using a simulation of how you can create an account on pay.gov. So that's the differences between the Form 1023 and the Form 1023 EZ. I have never and plan to never use the Form 1023 EZ because it's just too restrictive. It's too restrictive on my clients. And of course, I do get pushback sometimes when people say, well, I'd rather pay $275. I understand, I would too. But the 600 is worth it when you have all of the benefits of the Form 1023 versus the disadvantages of the Form 1023 EZ. So you have the full advantages, is what I'm trying to say, of using the Form 1023 full version, but you have the disadvantages of using the Form 1023 EZ. I would rather for people to wait until they are financially able to pay the full $600 than to pay $275 just to take a shortcut. That's going to harm you in the long run. Okay, enough about that. Let's move forward. Okay, so now let's summarize what we've learned. Congratulations, you completed the About the Form 1023 lesson. It was the Module 1, Lesson 1. This lesson defined the full 1023, listed the 10 parts, and the 8 schedules. The lesson also compared the full Form 1023 with the Form 1023 EZ. Now it's time to test your knowledge of what you've learned. Knowledge check. The knowledge check allows you to demonstrate your understanding of the information presented in this first lesson about the Form 1023. So here are the directions. You will go to the resources library. You will locate Module 1, Lesson 1, and you'll select the KC link, KC meaning knowledge check, and you will complete the knowledge check. Thank you so much for joining the Form 1023 Academy. Since 2010, I've completed hundreds of Form 1023 applications for clients across the country. My approval rating is 100%. I'm happy to know that I've helped so many people launch nonprofit organizations to enhance their communities. The Form 1023 Academy includes the tools I use personally to complete the Form 1023 application. I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. I thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions or concerns about the information that I'm sharing with you, don't hesitate to reach out to me to let me know. Again, the information I'm presenting is in a logical sequence from simple to complex. So stay with me because we're getting there. Thank you again for your time and have a great day.